Good morning, everyone. My name is Lytle, and I'll be hosting Friday's Introduction to Edge. What you're viewing on the screen is a total cost analysis on a purchase transaction. It's for an FHA product as well as a conventional product. What we're going to do in today's training, I'll take you through Edge. We're going to reproduce and create this report, so I'd like you to follow along with me. I'll also show you how you'll be able to create fee templates and product templates and explain the different fields on Edge. So the way we're going to be using GoToMeeting, I would like you to open up your question area, and anytime throughout the call, if you have any questions on Edge, please place it in the question area, and I'll go ahead and address it for you. So what we want to do is start with Edge. So log into your Edge account. It's edge.mortgagecoach.com. Put in your login ID and password. And for those who are on the call, can you raise your hand and let me know if you've been into Edge, if you've created a report yet or not? So if you could go ahead and raise your hand and go to meeting if you've created a report. Okay, so that tells me I don't see any hands, so that's perfect. So let's log into Edge. So put in your ID and your password. And you can always email support@mortgagecoach.com with any kind of questions, but they can also help you if you have your login ID. Okay, so now we're on the home screen in Edge. And if you'll notice, we'll have two sections. We have our client section in the upper area and our partner-facing report. So we have the clients is the total cost analysis and the rent versus own, or we have open house flyer or sell or buy down for our partner-facing report. All the items that we're going to be working today we'll be able to use for both functions. So we'll work on the TCA, but everything we do also flows into the rent versus own as well as open house. Now if we look at the very top of Edge, you'll see we have the Home button. Anytime you want to start a client-facing report, you would click on New Client. For the partner-facing, you would start it off with a new partner. Then we have our settings. At the end of today's class, we're going to go into the settings where we have our contact information and our images. So we'll touch base on that a little bit. Now what I want you to do is just click on that Help button. So when you click on that Help button, it's going to take you to our knowledge base. And here we have many video tutorials that would help you. So if it's after hours on the weekend, but we have very many walkthrough videos. But I wanted to point out we do have a coaching call archive. And with that archive, every Tuesday we have coaching calls. Besides this training and our Thursday trainings and the coaching calls, we post them all in this area for any kind of reference. So today's class, the beginner's class, will be posted right here for your reference later to use. Okay, so now we're back in Edge. Let's go ahead and start our report. So please click on New Client, and we're going to go ahead and start this process off. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a first name. So I'm putting in Rob, and I'm putting in Smith. If you have a co-borrower, you could go ahead and place a co-borrower's name. They'll print on the report. And then we also have a phone number. It's not necessary if you don't have it, but let me show you what will appear if you have that phone number. We do have an email alert, and let me pull one up so you can see it. An email alert, when you send a report to your borrowers, once they close it, you're going to receive an email alert that lets you know how long they viewed the report. You would also see the name. If you had a phone number, it would be listed here. So at this point in time, you know you'd be able to reach out to the borrower and answer any kind of questions. So that's your email alert that you would be able to receive. And if you're working with a partner, you'll see this field Partner Email. This can be, so they receive an email alert showing that the report's been viewed. If you have an assistant, you can put their email address there as well. And the last item on this screen is Friendly Name Field. I'm putting the word purchase here, and what the Friendly Name Field is an identifier. We do have an option to be able to copy reports, but you need to know which report it is for that person. So that's what the Friendly Name Field does. When you create an open house presentation, it's a great idea to put the street address here because that way you identify the home for that realtor. And again, because we have that copy feature, you don't have to upload their logo and image every time, all that contact information. So Friendly Name Field. Does she rent or own? These two buttons here are just to identify the type of report. The TCA is the own. And if you wanted to rent versus own, you would mark rent. Both reports can be used with one data file. So you'd be able to, on those first-time home buyers, provide them a rent versus own report, be able to show them the advantages of owning versus renting. So now I'm pressing on the arrow to the right and advances my screen. Anytime you advance right or left, that is saving your data. So that's when the data saves. I also want to point out at the bottom is that we have 8 screens that we're going to go through in this wizard. And with that, the first 4 here are just data collection. So I'm going to explain some of the fields, but I'm also going to identify what fields you have to key in Edge and what ones you could bypass and go through quicker. So on the goal screen, I'm just marking it as a purchase. That will provide me my purchase screen. Other items are for refinances. You could go ahead and fill that out on refinances, but in this case, I'm moving on. And now we're getting to our assumptions screen. So let's put in a purchase price of $250,000. And the other fields on here are for refinances. And we do on Thursdays, our training Thursdays, yesterday we did cover refinances in these fields. So different trainings would be able to cover refinances. Before we move on in the lower right, I want to point out our notes section. You can place any type of notes in this area. And if you, just one moment. And you'll see as I advance the screen, the notes will carry with me. So you can put any kind of notes, especially if we're working with another person on the file, they'll be able to see your notes and vice versa. Now we're in the affordability screen, and the affordability has 2 screens for it. You have can afford and can spend. I do want to point out if you're moving through fast, you'd be able to just go through the screen rather quickly. But let's go ahead and fill it out so I'll be able to show you what those fields do. So key in $95,000 for the gross income. Credit status in this drop-down screen, it's just to be able to identify, they'd be able to tell you what their credit is. We do not run credit, so I want to be able to point that out. And say they have $500 in non-mortgage debt. By placing in the current gross income and that non-mortgage debt in the product, you're going to receive it at a DTI ratio. So I'll point that out. Savings balance, I'm keying in $25,000 for a savings balance and 0.25. Again, this is not necessary, but it will show on the report, and you'll be able to see if they have enough cash to close. In the analysis screen, I'll be able to show you where this will go ahead and play out. And lastly, we have a tax bracket percentage. This is for the rent versus own report, but on the TCA, if you want to show the tax advantages, you would put in that tax bracket. Not sure of the tax bracket. We do have a button here that will take you to an outside page that will be able to provide you the different brackets based on income. If you're doing MCC tax credit loans, we do have the option to compare with and without those tax credits. Moving on to the next affordability screen, this is just information that you could key in about max payments and price range for the home. I'm just bypassing the screen now. It's not necessary to fill that out. And now we're in our products. So with the products, what we're going to do is develop our FHA product first. We're going to develop a template, and then we're going to create fee templates as well. So for the name of the product, let's go ahead and override that, and I'm going to place an FHA 3.5% down. In our labels for our products, you need to keep it to 12 characters for each product, and we can have up to 4 products on the screen. It's not a refi, so I'm keeping that at no. And for templates, if you're on an enterprise account, go ahead and click on that arrow. You might see some product templates already filled out for you. If that's the case, find the one that is for a 3.5% down FHA and go ahead and click on it and pull that in. I'm not going to choose my FHA template because I want to build from scratch and be able to work with you and develop your own template. So purchase price, let's go ahead and put in that $250,000. And then you'll see this percentage for the down payment. If you click on that percentage field, you can see how it could toggle back and forth. So I'm going to toggle it to the percentage side and put 3.5%. and you'll see that it calculated the down payment for me and provided me a base loan amount. I'm going to go ahead and put 3.875 as my interest rate and my term at 360. So for our defaults, our term's going to default are 3.5. I have a question here. Is this VA FHA program? You want to mark that yes, and that's also part of your default. So with the FHA yes or no button, what this will do is provide you that upfront MIP field. So I'll be able to show you that in our next screen. Now what I want to do before we advance is take a note at the upper right-hand corner. This is where our graphs are going to start being built. So as soon as I advance my screen, you can see the graph. This is currently only the P&I payment. We haven't added our monthly cost yet. And below that, you have the debt-to-income ratio as well as your LTV percentage. So now let's go ahead and we're going to discuss fees. So first I want to show the prepaid interest days. I'm putting in 15. And if you take your mouse over that field, you'll see the dollar figure display. This will be part of your defaults in your template. So find out if it's 15 or 30 days that your company requires for a quote and place that in this field. Going down to the last field, that's your upfront MIP field. So click on that percent sign, key in 1.75 for the FHA upfront MIP factor, and then click Add to Loan Amount. So you can see how it calculated that dollar amount and placed it in the field next to it. So now to discuss the different fee areas here, you could do two types of fees. You can either lump sum your fees, saying estimated 1,500 APR fees and maybe 1,100 non-APR costs. You could do it this way, or in the way I'm going to show you is in the closing cost details, and we're going to build out a fee template. So I'm clicking on closing cost details, and it opens up our screen here. If you're on an enterprise account, take a look at your templates and see if there's an FHA fee template that you can use. If it is, go ahead and click on it and bring it on down. And what I'm going to do is show you how to build a fee template from scratch. And then when we get to our conventional product, I'll show you how you'll be able to take our FHA fee template we just created and modify it. So this will help if you are on an enterprise account. You can pull down that fee template and modify it for what your fees are, and you could save it for future use. So that's the process that we're going to show you. If you notice on the lower right, we have two green buttons. We have Add Fee and Add Custom Fee. What I'm going to show you is how to place an APR fee, a non-APR fee, then we're going to do a custom fee, and then we're going to talk about contributions. So the best place to start when you're building fee templates is to print off a fee worksheet from your LOS. With that, it will have your fee descriptions, your dollar amounts, and if the fee is an APR fee or not. So that's a good place to start. So once you have that, go ahead and click on Add Fee. I'm going to do it twice, and you'll see the line items now. In the drop-downs, we do have fee descriptions. For the dollar amounts, we have a method of percentage as well as a dollar amount. So you can always do 1%, and if you need a padding, you can put in an additional $100, and it will add that total together. We also then have a paid by field to identify if the fee is paid by the borrower, lender, or seller. The APR column, if you want to add the fee to the loan amount, and then the PPE is prepaid escrow. And those are for our escrow in pounds. This way it won't be on the short-term savings of our report. And when we go into the report, I'll show you that section and be able to describe this a little bit more for you. So let's work with our fees. So I'm going to go ahead and place in a processing fee. So I select my drop-down, I type the letter P, and I see my processing fee. I select it. I'm putting an amount of $4.95, and I'm marking it as an APR fee. So that's how simple it is, just marking an APR fee and creating one. So now let's do a non-APR fee. So if I go to my drop-down again and type the letter A, I come to my appraisal fee, select it, and then let's put $4.75. Okay, just one moment. Lisa has a question. How do you eliminate an old template? Lisa, when we're done with the keying in the loan, we're going to go into settings. And when we go into settings, I'll show you where those fee templates are created. And we do have a delete button that you can remove old templates. So we'll be able to show you that toward the end of the call. Okay. So now we have an APR and non-APR fee. So sometimes the fee descriptions do not match, and that's fine. You could just create a custom fee. And when you click on that green button, you'll see that another screen pops out for the fee description name. So I'm just going to say custom fee. If you're using the percentage field, the percentage can go off either the property value, sales price, or the loan amount. So if you're working with doc stamps, things like that, you'd be able to determine what percentage you want it to calculate from. Then if it's an APR fee, you want to go ahead and default it as an APR fee. So now once I press OK, if I click on my drop-down, you'll see at the very base I have that custom fee now to be able to use. That custom fee is there permanently, and again in the settings, you can always modify that description just in case you need a different percentage, or even if you're doing it, had a typo, you can correct it as well. So let's go ahead and place in $500 in our custom fee, and I'm going to leave it as a non-APR cost. So now let's talk about contribution. So we know how to key in an APR, non-APR, and custom, so let's talk contribution. I'm going to click on Add Fee, and in our system we have a field called Contribution. So I'm selecting Contribution. There's logic behind this label here. And with that, if you take a look at the blue bar toward the middle bottom, you'll see we have all our fees being totaled. We have our borrower paid, lender paid, seller paid, and if you had broker fees. Now, if with this contribution field, with the logic built in, say I have a contribution of $500. You'll notice that the borrower paid fee will decrease by that amount, and the lender paid fees now has the $500 in their column. If the seller's picking up that cost, you could go ahead and use the drop-down and change it to seller paid. So this is how you could do a contribution using a positive figure and using the logic behind our label contribution. Sometimes people want their own custom label, and that's fine, but it works a little backwards. Go ahead and create the custom label like we had done with our custom fee. So I add custom fee, and maybe I put in seller contribution. For some reason, I want to be able to have the word seller in front of it. So I press OK. But because there's no logic, because you created that field, you have to enter this as a negative. And the reason for it, it needs to offset the borrower's cost. So if you'll notice, once I hit return on that negative 500, our borrower amount, our paid fees, will drop by that amount. So with it, we also have to keep it paid by the borrower to offset the borrower cost. So that's how you could do a custom one, as well as the one that we have where you can use a positive number and we have logic behind that label. If there's any questions on fees, I'm going to be covering it again with our conventional product, but right now let's save it as a template. So if I click on the lower right-hand corner, Save as Template, this is where you could go ahead and label it. So if you're doing FHA fees, conventional, just label your fees accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and place in today's date, and you don't have to put in a date. I'm putting in a date so you can see this is the one I just created. If you're originating in multiple states, you'd be able to use these templates and identify the state. And also when we go into our settings, there is a copy feature to copy an existing template, and I'll also show you in our conventionals how to do a quick kind of copy. So I'm pressing OK, and my template is now saved, and if I go into my fee drop-down, we'll see my fee template. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete my contribution line. Oh, no, I'm going to keep that in there. I already went ahead and removed it. So you'll see the trash cans. If you ever want to remove a fee, you just go ahead and click on the trash can and it removes it. Once you're done with your fees, you want to apply to loan. And you'll see how they total up those fees and gray out the fields on the outside. So if you ever want to make any kind of modification, just go back into the closing cost details and make the update in this area here. Now let's move to our monthly cost, which is the last of the 3 screens per product. So in this screen, you'd be able to default every field. So I'm opening up all my percentages. And for hazard insurance, I'm going to go ahead and put in 0.35 as my percentage as an estimate. Find out what the percentage is in your area and go ahead and place that in there. You can also, if you quote by dollar, you could go ahead and place $100 in the field as well and not use that percentage. So whichever way you're comfortable with, I'm going back to my percentage field. My taxes, I'm going to go ahead and quote 1.25 for my tax amount. And now let's go ahead and key in our MI for FHA. So the MI factors did change, so I have 3.5% down, and the MI factor is 0.85. You'll notice as soon as I press return, right below that is a box, calculate MI on balance. You want that marked on any kind of FHA as well as USDA loans to get the declining MI balance. Next field is the MI cutoff month. Because FHA carries MI for the life of the loan, we're going to go ahead and put 360 in there, saying we want MI carried to 360 days regardless of the LTV. Now last on the screen is your reserve month. So I'm placing in 2 for hazard, 4 for taxes, and I'm collecting 12 months premium. So you would go ahead and identify what your reserves would be. With the template, it could always have 2 and 4. But you can always override it if you're at that point of time in year and you might need 6 months. So just put the estimate of what's the majority of the time you put in there. Now that we have all our information filled out, let's save it as a template. So I'm clicking on Save as Template. You'll see the label of our product carried over. And again, you don't need to put in the date. I'm doing this so you'd be able to see the template I built. Then I'm pressing OK. So we just finished an FHA product, building fee, and product template. So now at the very base, you'll see a green button, Add Another Product. So let's go ahead and click on that, and let's create our conventional product. We'll go up to the label, and I'm putting conventional, 5% down. We keep it marked No as a refi. Let's check out those product templates, and you can see my FHA template right there. If you have a conventional template, go ahead and select that and bring it on down. So let's enter our loan amount of $250,000. I'm clicking on the percentage to put in 5%. My interest rate is 4, and my term is 360. I'm keeping it marked No as the FHA VA program, and you'll see as soon as I advance my screen, the graph is going to appear in the upper right-hand corner. And then you'll notice at the base of the fee screen there is no upfront MI. So that's what that yes and no will do for you. So let's place in our 15 days of prepaid interest, and let's go into that closing cost detail, and let me show you how you can work with an existing fee template and modify it for a new one. So click on closing cost details, and in our drop-down, let's go ahead and choose the template that I just created. So if you have a template in there, go ahead and select it. And you'll see how it carries all those fees down. So possibly my appraisal fee is only $450 on conventional loans. I also need a tax service. So I'm going to add a fee, go to my drop-down, type T for tax service, select that. I have $75, and it is an APR cost. So this is how it's quick to build additional fee templates based on different products. So even I suggest if you have one product you might not do quite often, but if you're modifying a fee template, always remember to go back and save it as a template. So you always have that for future loans. So now I'm going to do conventional fees and place in today's date. So now you'll see that is also included in my drop-down. So that's how quick it is to build templates once you have one in there. So once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and apply the loan. And you'll see how all my fields have filled out. Now let's finish up with that monthly cost screen. Open up all your percentage fields. I'm putting in 0.35 for my hazard estimate and 1.25 for my taxes. Conventional, I'm having 0.66 for my MI factor. And because it's a conventional loan, I'm not marking Calc MI on balance. But just to explain the two fields, MI cutoff month as well as the percentage. So say I have a minimum of 2 years that I need to keep MI on my loan. I put in 24 months here, and then the system on the 25th month, it will start looking at the 78%. If it's reached 78% LTV, MI is dropped from your loan. So that's how those two fields work in conjunction with each other. Let's put in our hazard reserve, so 2 months hazard, 4 months taxes, and I'm collecting my premium. So now let's save that as a template as well. So click on Save as Template. I'm adding my date, so can't believe I already forgot the date. There we go. And then press OK. So now we built 2 fee templates and 2 product templates. So you can continue on. You'll see how I hover my mouse over products, and you'll see the 2 jump out. This is another quick way of moving through Edge. Just hover and then go ahead and click on it, and you go to the FHA product. So you can key up to 4 products on each scenario, but now I'm going to leave it at 2, and let's go ahead and cover the analysis screen. This is where you can customize the report. You have your property appreciation rate, and when we go to the report, I'll go ahead and show you where that appears. Short-term saving I have is 5 years, and long-term is 15. Short-term is the lower left-hand corner of your graph, and long-term is the lower right. When you start working with your clients, these are the 2 questions you want to be able to ask. How long do they plan to stay in that loan, in their home? So say they plan to stay 7 years minimum. Their kids are graduating. They want to get through high school. Instead of 60 months, go ahead and put in 84 months because that'll be a fixed time period they're staying in that home. So they'll be able to show the short-term savings as well as the long-term savings is 15 years. If you wanted to see the full cost of the loan, you could go ahead and put in 30 years, and you'll see how the numbers change in the lower right. So I want to point that out to you as you start really working with Edge. You'll start seeing these items where you just talk to the client with Edge Live and modify these figures. So with that lower right-hand side, we're going to show total interest in MI. You do have an option for total net worth as well as total principal paid. Total net worth is good to display on the report when you use our reinvestment strategy screen. For now, I'm going to go ahead and keep it on total interest in MI paid. But to talk a little bit more about net worth, let's click on that reinvestment strategy. We're not going to spend a lot of time in here, but I want to make you aware that you will be able to show the client the savings, the monthly savings. If you put it back in toward principal, you can show them a new freedom point. So you can see this payment, which is equal to your FHA payment. Now they're apples to apples, but instead of 30 years, you would have that loan paid off in less than 27 or 28 years. So you could see how that, or if they just even apply an additional $100 a month, what that would do. So you'd be able to provide that to the borrower as well as we're providing the savings balance. This is where that carries over from the assumptions field. Or you can show it into an investment balance. So we do have a great video tutorial that explains it further, and we also covered this on our Thursday call yesterday, so you can always look at that recorded call as well. So once we're done with the analysis screen, we move on to our contact information. You can fill in this contact information here. I'm going to put in California. And you can either put in to be determined, or if you have a catchy phrase you want to put there, if you don't have the property address, you could go ahead and put that there, and it will display on the top part of your report. Moving to our next screen, we're almost done, and we'll get into our report. We're doing a total cost analysis. Here's our product. You'll see that if you do not want to include a product, you just uncheck it. So if I uncheck that conventional, only my FHA would appear on the report. Now with our payment notes, you might have, if you're on an enterprise account, you might have some information already populated down here. Just review it. Sometimes they say taxes are or are not, and you need to modify it to whichever way you go. But basically, the payment notes are estimated, taxes and insurance are included in your payment. With this, it will appear on the report. It's a compliance piece. Anytime you have a payment, you need to let them know if taxes are and insurance are or are not included. So it is an important piece. Again, I'll show you on the report where that plays out. The next three screens are just review of each quadrant. You can always hover your mouse over presentation and go directly to preview. Or if you just hit the next three screens, it will also then take you to our last screen, preview. Let's add a quote date. So click on the calendar and select today's date. The notify me when the report is viewed. That is where you'll be able to get the email alert. And then we have the call button function also on our report. We do have an option for print and save as PDF, but both of those options are in the link. And the link is the valuable piece. That's what you want to send your borrower. So now let's take a look at the report. Go ahead and click on preview. Preview will bring up your report, and you'll be able to take a look at it and identify, make sure everything's correct. So let's review it a little bit, get you familiar with this report. So in the upper right-hand corner, we have our summary section. With our summary, you can see we have our loan amount, rate, APR, term, and your payment. A lot of good items right there on that face. We also have the payment stream, so it's a quick way for you to click on that payment stream for FHA and make sure you have that declining MI balance for your payment stream. You'll notice on my conventional product, we do not have that declining balance. So that's the difference between the two, and that was that calc MI on balance. So that's a quick way to make sure that you've keyed in the data correctly. Below the summary, you'll see the payment notes, the estimate taxes and insurance included in your payment. You'll notice the double asterisk as well as the double asterisk next to the payment. Now let's go into the more info. The more info is going to provide you more data about your payment breakdown, the closing costs, as well as your reinvestment strategy. So first we have our payment breakdown that provides us our value of the home, the sales price, P&I payment, then all your monthly costs, and then the total pity payment. Then you have your closing costs screen, and with that you can see how much their down payment was, or equity if it's a refinance, the LTV percentage. You have the lump sum cost, just like how this screen displays, but you'll see the fee detail button at the base. If you click on that, you'll see all the fees itemized, as well as your impounds. So the impounds went ahead and calculated and carried over to your fee screen. So I want to point that out to you, and you'll see the prepaid interest below as well as the MIP in cash. Now let's move to the reinvestment strategy. If you had keyed in a dollar amount, it would display here as well as our freedom point. And if you notice, I've been highlighting. And how do you highlight on a report? I'm just taking my mouse over the field, and you see how it's highlighted in blue. And then I click on that cell, left click, and it highlights. Left click again, and it removes the highlight. So that's what I'm doing when I'm highlighting the field. Now let's talk about the monthly payment savings in the upper right-hand corner. No graph is on the FHA, and the reason for that is the highest payment option has no graph. Then the graphs are comparing the monthly savings. So the conventional is $59 over that FHA product. Click on the more info. You'll have more breakdown of your payment. If you had a second lien, the second lien displays right below that as well. Here's the property appreciation rate percentage. And in our long term, I'll show you where this comes into play. Now let's talk the short-term area, the lower left-hand corner. Remember, we were talking about the 60 months can change if they're staying for 7 years or not. This is where it's located. We're saving a little over $6,000. So what does that number comprise of? If we go into the More Info button, what we do is we take the interest in MI that's been paid for the 60 months. We total that. Then we get the fees, and we add the fees to that total. Fees are just your points, your closing costs, but it excludes any of those prepaid escrows, any of your impounds. So that is not part of the total, not a cost on the loan. Then you have your total cost. So once we total up those figures, that's what we do our comparison. So the comparison is the savings of the unrecoverable costs. So with that, you can see how that net savings and how we comprise that figure. Lower right-hand corner just provides that total interest and MI paid over that 15-year period. More info provides us that home value. That's that property appreciation rate. So each year, 3% is appreciated, and we provide you that value, as well as the loan balance at the end of the 15 years, how much equity you have, how much total principal you paid, and how much in pity payments. So a lot of details within that more info in the long-term area. I also want to point out in the lower right-hand corner, you do have the option to save as a PDF. You can go ahead and print the copy of the report, and the borrower has these same options. So it's best to send them the link and let them go ahead and print it if they choose to, or save it as a PDF. Now let's go back to Edge, and we're going to click Generate Link. This is going to go ahead and provide you the link that you're going to copy, and you're going to place this in your email to the borrower. So when you email out your borrower, the borrower is going to click on that and be able to view your report. So the buttons below, we have Add Audio Video. I'll show you how to add a video to your report. And Edge Live, just to let you know, Edge Live and the Preview button are one and the same. But we'll talk about Edge Live in just one moment. So let's click on Add Audio Video. And you can see how the report opened up. But in the lower left-hand corner, that's what's different. We have a Record Message button. If you go ahead and click on that, you can see how the camera box opens up. And then I'm pressing Allow, and it's going to allow them to access my camera. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori. So this is where you want to go ahead and place a video on your report. Introduce yourself, talk a little bit about the report, the different loan options, and then do a call to action to them. So just talk slowly, make sure you have eye contact, and just talk to them for a little bit. The video does take about, will allow you to record for 5 minutes, but just keep it short and sweet and do a follow-up once you get that email alert. So with it, if you look at the bar, you have the recording button to play so you could hear what you have. We have a pause, so if you're recording, you could go ahead and pause it and then restart. Then we have our stop button, and then if you want to remove the video, you could go ahead and remove it through the trash can right here. And if you don't have a webcam yet, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner that you have a record audio only. If you click on that, it will just go ahead and allow you to record an audio message. So you could go ahead and, what a picture, go ahead and do that. So you'll have your video. The video is the first thing the borrower sees. And it's great to put a video on your report. Reach out. They'll be able to see who they're working with and get a lot of information verbally that's not on the report. And when everyone, the husband and the wife, view the report separately, they're hearing the same consistent message. So you always want to put a video on your report. Now let's do Edge Live. So Edge Live is the gem of Edge, and this is how you're going to talk to your borrower. So if you haven't used Edge Live, this is the process. So I'm copying my link. If you notice, I went and used the share button in the right-hand corner. That's just a quick way of grabbing that link. Now let me go ahead and open a new tab. I'm pasting that link in my tab, just as if the borrower went ahead and clicked on that link. With that, this is the borrower's experience. They're going to click I understand. If you had a video, the video would start playing and then be able to start viewing the report. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is put my report side by side so you'll be able to see Edge Live in action. So just one moment. Let's go ahead. There we go. Okay, so you're taking a look at the reports. We have them both side by side, and the difference between the report is at the very bottom. You'll see that there's a Clear All button. Just one moment. In the lower right, and with that Clear All button, this lets you know it's your product or your copy. And if I click that Clear All button, it's going to go ahead and provide me clear out all my highlights. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and press Clear All. So that way I know I'll be able to work with the report. The borrower does not have one. They cannot clear highlights and they cannot highlight. So now when you're working with, talking with the borrower over the phone, they have the report up. I also placed the link in the chat box. If you want to experience Edge Live, go ahead and click on that link. But I also want to point out, if you click on that link, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, viewers. That tells you if the borrower is on the report with you. I have one viewer, which is my report on the right-hand side. If you clicked on that link, it would then become 2, 3, 4 viewers as more people view the report. So that way you know if they're viewing the report with you. And then start watching as I'm working, going through it. So if you're talking about the loan amount, do you see how on the right-hand side it's highlighting as well? You could talk about the interest rates and see how the borrower's copy is also highlighting. You want to talk about the payment streams, showing how the MI cuts off. You can see how it will jump out on the borrower's screen as well. So that is what really is such exceptional about Edge, is the fact that you can talk about all this information with the borrower without having to point and try to describe what's on your email or an Excel spreadsheet. So now let's talk about the payment breakdown. So I'm clicking on the More Info button, and you'll see how the payment tab, breakdown tab's open for me, as well as the borrower. So you can start talking about the difference in MI, there, the P&I payment, and you can see everything I do is being followed on the borrower's copy. So you could talk about fees, open up the fee details, and be able to see that. So with Edge Live, the best way to work with Edge Live is to go ahead and take that link and place it on one screen, have your copy on another, and just watch the movement and get familiar with that report. And then go ahead and send that link to someone in your office or a friend and talk to them over the phone and drive the report for them and see how that process works. So that's Edge Live. I want to be able to point that out to you. Great feature. We do have a video tutorial on how to be able to use Edge Live even in more detail. So now I'm going back to our Edge account. So we finished Edge Live in a video, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. We finished our report, so now let's go ahead and do some housekeeping. Let's go into our settings. You have your contact info tab. In here, you'll see all the data for yourself. If there's any fields in gray that you need modifying, go ahead and email us at support, and we can go ahead and take care of that for you. Anytime you make a change, make sure you press the save in the lower right. Also, I want to make sure the MLS or your identifier is in front of the number, because this is exactly what will display on the report. Next tab is images. Make sure you upload your image. It will display on the upper right-hand corner of your report, as well as your logo. So now, Lisa, if I go into my fee templates, this is where you can make modifications or delete any old fee templates. So I have one here from January 8th. Lower left-hand corner is the delete button. So once I highlighted what I want to remove, I press delete, and it asks me if I'm sure, and I say yes. So that's how you can remove it. I know it's so easy. And then also the lower left-hand corner is fees. That's where you can modify your fee descriptions. So if for some reason you had a spelling or wanted to go the percentage off the loan amount, this is a way to correct it or mark it as APR, things like that. So you have that. And lastly, I mentioned how you could do a quick copy. So once you identify which one you want to start with, which template, the Save As button will then copy it. So now I could go ahead and say, test. If I originate multiple states, I could go ahead and select that, then press OK, and you can see how easy it copied over. And at this point, you could go ahead and delete fees, add fees, modify fees, and you have your new template. Product template. So let me go into the FHA template that we just created and show you the information here. So with the interest rate, I'm going to remove it because that's a variable for me, and I want to make sure I key it in. So then you'll see how we default the 3.5, the 15, we have the 1.75 plus your reserves and your 12 months premium. If we click on monthly cost, this is where you can modify your numbers. It did save the dollar amount, but it will always recalculate when you go back into Edge. But I always like just to clean up my default, so I'm just going to go ahead and put those figures in here. And we're done. And then I also, because I saved it with my closing costs are also part of my product template. You could keep it this way, or you could go ahead and delete all the fees and then pull in your fee template when you go into Edge. So that's your template here. And then with it, I'm going to have to start wrapping up this call. So again, everyone, if you have any questions, please email us at support. If you want us to review your report itself, go ahead and send us that link, email it to support, and we'll go ahead and review it and provide you any kind of suggestions that we see. So from this point, go ahead and for the next week, get into Edge, create 5 reports, because the more you get in there, you get familiar with it, the easier it's going to be. So go ahead and do that, and just make sure that you go to our help button, go to our knowledge base, and sign up for those Tuesday coaching calls and our Thursday trainings. Our Thursday trainings are here for you to learn Edge. And one last item I want to point out is this webinar for Josh Metal. If you want any kind of scripting, understanding Edge a little more, if I click on that to go to the YouTube video, you'll see toward the base of that, show more, there is a lot of assets that we have here, more videos, homework, training. And if you click on the scripts, you'll see that we'll have you'll be able to click on it and be able to get a PDF that contains our scripting. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for attending, and get into Edge and create those reports. Thank you, and enjoy your day.